Would you consider trade shows to be advertising?
Yes.
Would you
Trade shows
consider
advertising.
would you consider public relations to be advertising?
I would say no. I would say at the end of the day, it is advertising, but it is advertising in its own disguise, right? Because there is a methodology, the channel goes out the door. There are rules of engagement, right? In terms of press releases and things like that. It is advertising because you do have a lot of pay to play in regards to like you can buy yourself articles in publications or blogs or things like
Yeah.
that. But to me, that's kind of like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Which
Yeah.
does beg the question, Rob, is a hot dog a sandwich? Now it is
Exactly.
meat between two pieces of bread, even though that bread is hinged.
Yeah.
And hot dog is a hot dog. It's not a sandwich.
Hot dog is a hot dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's PR for me. What do you think? All right, episode 165. We're back, Rob.
165.
We'll start humming the theme song. We're never changing the theme song. I know we've talked about this before, but we're never changing it, right? It's just staying
Nope.
forever.
Nope. It's gonna go forever. It's gonna
Nice.
go forever.
All right. Speaking of going on forever, I don't know how to segue that into today's topic. But why don't you tell everybody today's topic?
Yeah, so thought today's topic, it might be interesting to talk about some of the similarities and or differences between marketing agencies and advertising agencies, right? Or the role of marketing versus the role of advertising, as general as we want to go.
Yep.
A lot of times there's when we're working with folks, um, there'll be a little bit of I don't want to say confusion, but
There is confusion out there
little
for sure.
crossover, a little
Yeah.
bit of blurred lines between what is the role of marketing, what's advertising, because
Yeah.
oftentimes, you know, smaller companies maybe don't have a full marketing
Yeah.
department, right?
Exactly.
Larger companies have a very large marketing department. So it's
Yeah.
different. It's different, I think, depending on, the size of the business
Well, and we
oftentimes.
work with gigantic companies that are humongous, and they have
Sure.
teeny marketing departments. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so I mean, the size of sometimes even that boggles my mind. Like, oh, there's only two people in this marketing department. You guys are like $1 billion company. Like, how's
Yeah.
that possible? Like, what in the
Yeah.
world is happening? So
And I think, we say to people at times like, hey, we're not your outsourced marketing department.
yeah.
But But I don't know that that's true all the time. I'm just
Really?
gonna go ahead and say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that that's true, and I think maybe as the industry evolves, um, those lines are being blurred a little bit more,
Mm.
increasingly so,
Yeah.
between marketing and advertising and strategy and all of those things.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think different clients have different needs though. I have, yeah,
sure.
forever been like, I don't want to be your outsourced marketing department. I
Yeah.
do not want like, I want you to bring us your plan and then we'll challenge the plan. We can execute against the plan and we can come up with new ideas, but like, you know, yeah, forever. I've been, but I guess maybe to your point, especially with some recent client acquisitions, we do more of the upstream marketing plan development than maybe I guess I realize, as crazy as that sounds. So,
Yeah, I
um,
mean, it's
well, for those following at home, I guess, what would your description of marketing versus advertising be? And even us, like we historically have sold ourselves as a creative shop. Like
right.
we are creatives, you know what I mean? But I guess fundamentally the difference between advertising agency and marketing agency would be what in your mind?
I think I would strip the word agency off of those and just say, fundamentally, what's the difference between marketing and advertising?
Yeah.
And to me, I guess put as simply as I can, marketing would be the conduit between a business and a business's advertising,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm good
That's
with
I
that.
think that's in simplest terms I think I can put it. That's how I would that's how I would define those roles,
Yeah. I
right?
think marketing is very broad, right? And advertising is a component within your marketing plan, but your marketing plan could also include things that are not advertising. Would you agree
Correct.
with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, advertising is one of the tools in the toolbox of marketing. And
Yes.
oftentimes it is a very big one, I mean, let's not
Yes.
beat around the
Right.
bush. And sometimes maybe it is the only tool that you use in your toolbox, you
Right.
know. But marketing to me is kind of an umbrella term that encapsulates more than just advertising, right? But to your point, I think over the last, 30, 40 years, right? Um, it's kind of like the definitions of what everybody does and who does what have kind of meandered, evolutionary wise, right? Because it's like some clients have marketing departments, some clients don't, some
Right.
clients, and then agencies always say, yes, we can do it, whether it's a marketing agency or a
Yeah.
PR. I mean, how many times do we hear about PR firms that did logos, the logo rebrand?
That's
It's
right.
like, what? How did that happen? That's not, like no one's really playing in the sandbox of what their name definition or category is, right, over the last 10 or 15 years. Um, and then supplement that with the fragmentation of technical execution, right? We went through a whole phase where it's like, oh, we're an ad agency, but then oh, we're a digital shop. Right. Remember that? Like back in the 90s, it was like, oh, well, ad agencies do traditional media planning and print advertising, and and then you
Right.
have, oh,
We do
digital
digital.
only.
We do
Yeah,
digital.
all we do is digital, right? And now
Yeah.
that's all blended together, and
Yeah.
so it is kind of a. That's why I asked the question, like, how would you define what the
Yeah.
difference between the two is? I think it's an astute point to dump the word agency, right, and just kinda go marketing versus advertising, so
Yeah. I mean, I think the role, the and again, we're painting with a broad brush here, but
yeah,
the role of marketing is to, in my opinion, is to, and I say conduit between, the outward facing persona and advertising of a company. The role of marketing is to understand the business, right?
totally.
And then understand specifically and help define who the target audience
Mhm,
is for that business, right? So if I make a pen
yeah,
at the marketing department, it's up to me to go, okay, well, I know this pen better than anyone. I know how it works. I know what it does. I know the benefits of the pen. I know all this great stuff.
yep,
Um, and I know who's going to buy this pen. I
yeah.
think I've figured out who's going to buy this pen. Right.
Sure,
So then I would go again in a traditional sense. Then I would go to my advertising department or my ad agency or whatever and go, all right, I've got this great pen. Let me tell you all about it. Here's who I think we're going to sell this pen to.
yeah,
Ready, go. And then
sure.
it's the role of advertising to figure out, A, okay, great. How do we reach those people? If we
Yeah,
think about it from a
where
media
are they?
perspective,
Yeah,
where are they? How do we go find those people? And then B, how do we effectively tell them or sell them on the benefits of this incredible pen?
yeah,
And how do we do that in a creative way that makes them ultimately buy the pen?
yeah,
I mean,
what's
that's
the message? What's the message that's gonna resonate with them
yeah,
to buy that pen, you
yeah.
know?
And
Um, go
I
ahead.
think more and more well, let me back up. Traditionally, the marketing department would go, all right, great. I know everything about the pen. I've got the personas. I've got all the things. I've got the king, the key selling point, right? Or the
Yep,
universal differentiator. And then they write the brief. Here you go, everybody. Here's my big brief.
yeah,
And then we hand that to the agency, and then the creatives go read the brief, and then that's their launch pad to
sure,
develop
sure.
ideas and things like that. Um, We've talked about briefs before.
Yeah. I didn't wanna interrupt your role, but I was gonna say, "Hey, when was the last time we got a absolutely kick-ass, spot-on
Couldn't
brief
tell you.
from a client," you know?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, yeah,
And honestly, like, and this is not to knock brief writers,
yeah.
right?
Or clients.
Or clients.
Yeah.
But I would say in my career, I have only really come across like maybe a handful
Okay. I
of
thought you might say
really,
1.
no, probably him, but I
Yeah,
guarantee it's not a whole lot over five, if it is over five,
yeah,
of
yeah,
really well executed briefs,
yeah.
I would say.
Now, of those 5, did they come from clients, briefing agencies on what the task is at hand, or is that post-client brief and from an internal resource at an
Mix of
agency?
both. I
Mix of
would
both.
say that
Okay,
it's
okay.
both,
That's a fair answer.
you
I
know?
think, again, in the interest of not bashing on anyone, it's funny because nowadays we'll do a project launch and maybe there'll be multiple clients on the phone, and sometimes they can't even agree amongst themselves.
Well,
You know
that's
what I
right.
mean? It's like, "Whoa." Like,
Yeah.
okay. clear as mud is an understatement, right? Like, okay, and then it's well, how do you tap dance your way through that when they don't even know what they want and they can't even
Right.
agree on what's the most important thing? Well, I mean, there's methods and strategies and there's ways we can handle that. I don't want to get off topic on it, but yeah, to your point, it's that traditional method is increasingly going by the wayside. So
Yeah. Well, it used to be, and again, this still happens. I don't want to pretend that it doesn't, but
yeah,
in larger organizations, it's, oh, we go out and we hire the research firm, and the research firm does all the personas and does all the things, and then we've all agreed in the marketing department that, okay,
yeah,
here it is. Here's what we're trying to
yep,
say, and we're on the same boat. You know, more often than not, they don't have the research and they don't know. So
yeah,
when we're on the call with 8 people from the company, we get 8 different points of view
yeah.
because not everybody's aligned and
Yeah, but there's only one point of view that matters, generally speaking, and such. There's somebody over there has the gift, and it is
yeah,
astonishing to me sometimes when they just veto all the data and all the numbers and all the
yeah,
research, you know?
yeah,
It's like, "Nope, I want it this way."
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So,
And then you
anyway,
always
I
have
feel like
those.
I've pulled us off topic, you know what I mean?
No,
It's
no,
just
it's
that
all part of the conversation. I mean, when
yeah,
when we talk to clients and marketing folks, sometimes if there's not that research or there hasn't been a great brief developed,
yeah,
it's incumbent to us to ask, like, and the hard questions and keep pushing and pushing.
sure.
What is the one thing, tip of the spear, we always say?
Yeah,
What is the one thing we want to lead with? What is the one?
yeah,
Well, we want to do this, but we also want to say this, and we
yeah,
also want to da, 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 da.
yeah.
Um, so as advertisers, it's up to us to help figure that out.
Yeah, 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 the 10 pounds of shit in a 1-pound bag, let's just call it what it is,
That's
you
right.
know? So,
That's right.
yeah, on the design side of life, that's, "Here's the 8-page Word doc, can you make this a sell sheet?" No. Like, that's called a brochure. That's not a single like, "Do you know you just sent me an 8-page Word doc? What are you talking about?" So, yeah, I mean, that same methodology applies on the advertorial side of life, So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think, what's interesting is, from a marketing perspective, I'm going back to what you said earlier, which is, hey, I don't want to be your outsourced marketing department. But I think we do a good job of staying in our lane of what we feel very, very comfortable with and what we do exceedingly well, but then push back on clients because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about that? Like to sort of not trying to take over. I want to build your entire plan, but hey, here's a supplement idea. Here's a this. Here's a that. And sometimes clients know their product very well, but they don't know um, where to fish, right?
Right.
And that can lead into some sort of additional marketing avenues potentially outside of just advertising, right? Um, and then I guess, like what is the definition of advertising? I mean, like, you know, low hanging fruit for this conversation, it's called influencer marketing, right?
Sure.
But isn't that just advertising?
Of course.
Yeah,
So,
right.
okay, let me ask you this.
Right, we're paying someone to hawk your I mean, I'm saying that in a negative fashion. It's not negative, but, like, it is interesting that the the terminology has been bastardized, right, to where it's
Yeah.
not it's not marketing, or is it?
Yeah.
So okay, I'm sorry, you're
I
gonna
think
say
also, as because we're lean and efficient the way we are, and because we sort of manage all the accounts ourselves, it's like we know enough to be dangerous, right? Meaning, and I mean that in a positive way in this instance.
yeah,
It's, oftentimes, we're creatively intelligent, but we understand the business of marketing as well, right?
yeah,
So we can kind of back into helping them clients figure out, okay, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? And kind of swim upstream a little
yeah,
bit. And I dare I say that might be a competitive advantage for us because
yeah,
I think
well,
a lot of
that
bigger
is yeah,
agencies are so very siloed that the creative teams are in the creative
yeah,
department. They're doing their thing and they're not, necessarily thinking about the broader business objective
okay,
potentially. Um,
yeah,
maybe that's it. Maybe marketing is more of a focus on the business objective than on the delivery of a message.
yeah.
Maybe that's a way to distill the
Or
difference.
which tactical deployment you're using,
Yeah.
right?
Let me ask you this. Would you consider trade shows to be advertising?
Yes.
Okay. Would you
Trade show is
consider
advertising.
public relations to be advertising?
Um, I would say no. I would say at the end of the day, it is advertising, but it is advertising in its own disguise, right? Because there is a methodology that channel goes out the door. There are rules of engagement, right, in terms of press releases and things like that. There's the global news. There's kind of like best practices in different industries and things like that, right?
Right.
It's harder to game the system from a PR perspective, right? It is advertising because you do have a lot of pay to play in regards to like you can buy yourself articles in publications or blogs or things like
Yeah.
that, right? But to me, that's kind of like, is a hot dog a sandwich, right? I mean, it is advertising, but it is called public relations, and it is its own kind of thing. Like, which
Yeah.
does beg the question, Rob: is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Yeah, it's not. It's its own thing. Now, it
It's
is
a
meat between two pieces of bread, right? Even though that bread is hinged, you know, a
yeah.
hot dog is a hot dog. It's not a sandwich.
Hot dog is a hot dog.
Yeah, yeah.
What
So
about
that's PR for me. What do you think?
a loaded bagel, like a ham bagel or a turkey bagel with sprouts,
Yeah.
maybe some Swiss cheese on there.
Is
Would
that a
that
sandwich?
be a sandwich?
Yes, that's a sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
And what
if you put roast beef and cheddar and whatever, and you put it on a croissant versus a bagel
That's a
versus
sandwich.
rye versus sourdough, to me, it's a sandwich. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a sandwich.
so the sandwich then I don't know why so a sandwich then is defined by how do we define sandwich?
I think it's meat between two pieces of bread. Now, maybe meat is incorrect. It is
Yeah.
because you can have like, veggies or whatever, like, yeah, I think it's the bread, magical deliciousness, and then bread. That's the
Is it
sandwich.
okay, so the hot dog argument then, is it because it is a hinged,
um,
receptacle? I mean, is that what is
No,
keeping it
I
from
think
being a
hot dogs and hamburgers are their own category outside of sandwiches, if that makes
okay,
sense,
okay,
right?
okay.
Just like it is its own branded sandwich. I mean, at the end of the day, you could make an argument. Someone's probably written a paper on this. You can make an argument. It is a sandwich. They are sandwiches, but they are sandwiches that have transcended the sandwich category to their own category, which
Yeah,
is
I'm
a hot
okay with
dog.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but back to PR is, in your opinion, then asking the same question back at you, is PR advertising?
I think this is gonna be such a stupid
It's
answer.
like the most eloquent form of advertising.
I can argue it both ways. I mean, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say at the end of the day, I would say yes, because it is, it is an outward facing, um,
It's a communication.
representation or piece of communication
Yeah,
about your company or
yeah,
brand. So I think if
yeah,
you use that broad definition, then you could say, yeah. But then you could also say, yeah, well, trade shows, same thing. It is an outward
yeah,
communication of your brand. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think there's absolutely a world where you can kind of put them together
yeah,
under that
yeah.
big
I would
bundle.
say trade shows are more advertising than PR is advertising,
I think so.
because you will have press releases about not good news, right? You would
Yeah.
never run an
Damage
ad.
control.
Yeah, you would never run an ad that's like, "Oops, we totally effed up. Sorry, we're doing the best we can." Like, well,
Yes.
infrequently would you do that, right?
Yes.
But if you have crisis management,
Right.
like, yeah, you're going to send out press releases because you are calming, a specific set of target audience, right? In this
Yeah.
instance, potentially it's investors, right? It would be, hey, here's what we're doing to mitigate that,
Yeah.
like you're trying to let people know what the deal is. But you are crafting that message. I mean, it is your
Right.
own, it is not, being thrust upon you. So, but trade show is like, here's a gigantic ad that's the backdrop. What's the message?
Yeah.
And you still have that targeted audience that's very specifically, oh, we all went to Chicago for the, you know what I mean? And like you're trying to lure them in to,
It's
uh,
like outdoor with a company representative,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
No,
I mean,
totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
a sea of billboards with company representatives
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting
and
it.
lots of
So
cocktails, cocktail parties and things like that.
yeah, come into the little closet and let's write an order or whatever. You know
There
what I
you
mean?
go.
Like, So yeah, buy, whatever. We'll drop ship them to you. So we'll buy your pens, So
We'll buy your pens.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I do think, just to sort of wrap this thing up, I guess, I think we are absolutely at the heart of what we do, a creative uh agency. And that will never change. But
correct.
I think increasingly so, and again, depending on the size of the client, it's incumbent upon us to understand their business enough and get to know them enough, which is why we talk about personal relationships and
Yeah.
really diving in and understanding. I don't want just a brief,
Yeah.
right? I don't want just a good brief. I want to get to know and ask the
Yeah.
questions and do the thing, which really helps us kind of move upstream a little bit. And so at times, again, enough, knowing enough to be dangerous, we can, I don't want to say we're going to act as your marketing department. I don't ever want to say that. But if you have marketing questions and you need a little bit of perspective and guidance and opinion,
Yep.
we've been doing it for a while, and we can
Yeah.
certainly throw our hat in the ring there
We
as
have
best we can.
experience. That's a kind way of saying we have experience.
That's right.
So yeah, we
We're saying
very,
we're old, really. If
yeah.
you couldn't tell by these delightful gray beards that we have.
Oh man, we just started hanging up a ton of photos in the house. We have this one hallway and our like
Yeah.
hanging up photos or whatever that. And I was doing the math on like when did the it start everything start turning gray. You know what I mean? You can look at the
Yeah, you
chronology
can
of
see
different
when it
things.
happened.
Like, oh, here's a photo with child number two that's this age, and it's pretty funny. And it's like, oh man, gray
Well,
hair.
I was doing some work on our agency site the other day and looked at our pictures.
Yeah, I don't
And
look like my photo, do I? I don't look like my.
these beards do look very different than they do on our
Yeah,
on
that's a
our
good
on
point.
our agency photos.
Yeah, we should. Oh, it's like the realtor that's like, you don't look like your photo at
You
all.
don't look like, well, it's
Yeah,
like the Tinder profile. You
yeah.
don't look like that.
Yeah,
You don't
that's
look like
funny.
that.
That's really funny. So, well, we do look like ourselves on YouTube, but where can everybody else find us if they want to talk about marketing and advertising with us, the experienced experts?
The experienced creative experts.
Yeah.
You were easy to find.
Yeah.
Noctagency.com, and of course
Yeah.
on any of the socials, and
Drop us a
wherever
note.
you get your podcast.
Yes. We're coming
Uh
for you. Who's number one? Joe Rogan. We're coming for you,
Rogan,
Joe Rogan, right?
we're
So,
coming for you, Joe
yeah.
Rogan.
The world needs to listen about advertising. So,
There you go. All
all right.
right.
We'll see you
Thanks for
next time.
tuning in, everybody. We'll see
Yeah.
you next time.